All right. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to our webinar. Very excited to have you all here. We'll give everyone just 30, 45 seconds or so to join, and then we will go ahead and kick things off. In the meantime, feel free to drop into the chat where you are joining us from. Always fun to see all sorts of places around the world that folks are dialing in and clicking in from. Already see in Indianapolis, Indiana. That is my hometown with the first chat. So very fun to see. Wonderful.
Ooh, I saw Alaska. Yay.
Yeah, some very fun.
Send some of that
Oh,
cold air down
we're
here.
covering some area here. Ooh, New Orleans. Yay.
See a couple Chicagos. Ooh, Canada. All right. And while folks are dropping that in, I will go ahead and get the screen share fired up so we are ready to rock and roll. All right. Jennifer and Amanda, is my screen coming through okay on your end?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Always nice to double check, even all these years later. Okay, so I still see some people joining, which is great to see, but I think we are good to go ahead and get started. So thank you again so much for joining. My name is CJ with OpenAsset, and we'd like to welcome you to our webinar, Enhancing Efficiency, How WK Dickson's marketing team reclaimed 25% of their time. So let's walk through a quick agenda of what we will be covering today. Then I'll hit on a couple admin points and then we'll get started. So we will go ahead and walk through some speaker introductions, let the three of us introduce ourselves, kind of where we're from, a little bit about our roles and our companies. After that, we'll hop into the live discussion. We'll dive into that exciting content that all of you are excited to hear about. So really excited for that part. And then of course, we will wrap up with some key takeaways and top tips and tricks that Jennifer and her team have come up with. And then finally, we will leave some time for Q&A. So depending on our timing here, there should be about 10 to 15 minutes at the end of our time. So don't hesitate to drop in any questions that you have into that Q&A button on the Zoom toolbar, and we'll be sure to leave some time at the end. Any that we don't get to, we can follow up with you directly. Before we get started with the introductions, I just wanted to run through a kind of a quick overview of the relationship between the three respective people and companies here that will be running this webinar. So myself, Jennifer, and Amanda. So I'll let them introduce themselves in a minute, but OpenAsset is the digital asset management software that Jennifer and WK Dickson, firm that she's a part of, use in order to manage their digital assets. Full Sail is the technology consultant on WK Dickson's Deltek Vision and Vantagepoint applications. So just wanted to provide kind of that quick background, and you'll learn more over the course of our discussion about the integration between Deltek and OpenAsset, how Full Sail has helped through a number of kind of tasks and projects to ensure the Deltek system is set up correctly for WK Dickson and kind of how all those pieces work together. But I wanted to provide that quick overview before we got started. All right, so quick introductions. Again, my name is CJ. I am a customer success manager here at OpenAsset. I've been here now for about a year and a half, and I'm located currently in Chicago, Illinois. I saw a couple of other folks that are in Chicago as well. So, hey, there may be an opportunity one of these days to meet up in person. That could be a lot of fun to get some face-to-face time. So, always nice to see people around your area. What is OpenAsset, or who is OpenAsset? We are a DAM, digital asset management platform, built exclusively for AEC firms like yours. So we have coming up on 1,000 AEC clients all across the world, and really focused on project proposal and resume workflows, really helping firms to streamline and improve those workflows, and at the end of the day, strengthen your brand and win more business. We integrate with a number of AEC tools that you use day in and day out. So the likes of InDesign, Deltek, of course, that we'll be chatting through more today, and you can see some of the others on our slide here. Yeah, so I think that is a good overview of OpenAsset. I'll go ahead and now pass it to Amanda from Full Sail to let her introduce herself.
Thank you, CJ. I'm Amanda Roussel. I'm a senior consultant with Full Sail Partners. I've been here for over 4 years now, and I'm joining you from Baton Rouge, Louisiana today. I did see a few Louisiana locations come through on the webinar chat, so that's exciting when some locals are around. Full Sail Partners is a team of technology consultants and software gurus. We help firms create and implement strong business strategies, and that's for those project-based firms using Deltek, Vantagepoint, and Vision, of course. So we specialize in the client-focused data architecture, the software solutions for professional services firms, which many of you are. So that includes the AEC industry, energy and environmental, and even management consulting firms as well.
All right, wonderful. Thank you, Amanda, for that great intro. Next and last but not least, let's kick it over to the star of our show, Jennifer Barker at WK Dickson. Jennifer, take it away.
Hi, everyone. I'm glad to be here. Jennifer Barker with WK Dickson. I have been with us for about 9 years now. I have been in the AE industry for a very, very long time. I won't tell you how long because that'll make me like ancient, but I've been doing this for a very long time. Right now I'm doing corporate marketing, which, as you guys know, that's kind of all things marketing. Could be social media, it could be client surveys, it could be Vantagepoint, it could be graphic design, and so on and so on and so on. I wear lots of hats. But I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina, so I saw some Durhams sprinkling in there. But it's very warm here right now. WK Dickson is pretty much, as you can see on the map, centered throughout the Southeast. We do a lot of sort of civil engineering, water, wastewater, aviation, watershed, land development, and energy. Our claim to fame, though, is we really get ingrained with our communities and helping them provide infrastructure solutions, whether that's helping them get funding for those solutions, doing the engineering for those solutions, or helping them be more resilient when it comes to flooding or, infrastructure that's deteriorating. And then we're always trying to provide sort of an innovative solution. So WK Dickson's not afraid to sort of put themselves out there from a technology standpoint and kind of embrace the new stuff that's out there to help solve our clients' problems.
That was awesome, Jennifer. Thanks for the overview and the introduction. I did see a chat from someone that said they couldn't hear Amanda. Amanda, I was able to hear you okay. Maybe we can kind of all tackle this as a group together in the chat. If anyone else had problems hearing Amanda, could you drop that in there? Otherwise, Jennifer, were you able to hear Amanda okay as well?
I can hear Amanda okay. She's a little softer, but I can hear her.
Okay, Cool.
I can
Yeah, it
get a louder
looks
voice in text. I can make
okay.
that happen. No worries. Thank you for the feedback because we can address that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it looks like that should do the ticket, Amanda, just looking at the
Okay.
chat here. So perfect. Um, wonderful. All right. Moving on, just a quick admin note, and then we'll go ahead and dive into the live discussion. I mentioned this in the beginning of our call, but we're going to leave some time for questions at the end. Drop those into the Q&A button at the bottom of the Zoom toolbar. We'll be keeping an eye on those and answering as many as we can at the end. Any that we don't get to, we'll be sure to follow up with you. I am going to, at this point, it looks like the chat's kind of died down with all of those locations. Again, very fun to see where everyone is joining us from. So we're going to turn the chat off just because it can get a little kind of confusing with questions populating in both areas. So we'll turn the chat off. We'll keep the Q&A open. Feel free to drop those in as we're going through with any questions, feedback that you have, the more the merrier. All right, and with that, we'll kind of be hopping in and out of the deck a little bit, just to kind of keep things engaging and keep things personal. So at this point, I will go ahead and stop the screen share, and I will pass it off to Amanda and Jennifer to start the live discussion.
Thank you, CJ. All right, we have a lot to cover today with you guys. So we're going to start with a little bit about WK Dickson and what Vision to Vantagepoint looked like for them as a firm. So, all right, Jennifer, help me set the stage here for our audience, okay? We heard you've said you've been at WK Dickson for nearly a decade now.
Mhm.
That's awesome, by the way. Congratulations. Tell us about your years at WK Dickson and how your marketing team has changed over those years.
Well, when I started at WK Dickson, we had 2 marketing coordinators, myself and our director of marketing. Well, since then, we've more than doubled our marketing team. We have 5 marketing coordinators now, myself and our director of marketing. So we've incorporated a lot more folks than we had when we first started.
And that's usually because you have more business to keep chasing.
It is. It's a good problem to have.
That is great. That is great. So there are thousands of project-based firms like WK Dickson, and they're utilizing Deltek. So much like WK Dickson, many of these firms have recently gone through or are currently in the process of upgrading their Deltek Vision system to Deltek Vantagepoint. Vantagepoint is the next version of Vision, and some big improvements are available in that process. There are ample ways to streamline processes in that upgrade process. So whether that's the project lifecycle, automating financial processes, increasing user adoption, using generative AI. One day I'm going to say that smoothly without hiccups. Generative AI for the smart summaries and many more functions that firms can take advantage of. And it's not really a question of if a firm is going to upgrade from Vision to Vantagepoint, but more about when the firm will upgrade from Vision to Vantagepoint. And this is something I know WK Dickson had faced. So Jennifer, can you tell us about the factors that ultimately drove WK Dickson to upgrade from Vision to Vantagepoint and go through that process?
Yeah, well, we've had Vision for ever since I've been here. And so it wasn't really a matter of if we were going to upgrade. It's just a matter of when. It's kind of like, your phone, you're going to go to the next generation. Sometimes it's just picking that right time. And we had initially picked the beginning of last year, and we were sort of getting queued up with you guys. And then we had to sort of stop that process for a little while. We had a little turnover in our accounting lead, which is, one of those key people in your migration team or your upgrade team. So we actually deferred it to November and then kind of, rip the Band-Aid off then and move forward at that point, which actually ended up being a really good thing because we had a new person on board and it went a lot smoother.
Good. And it was great for you guys to recognize early on, like, okay, we
Mhm.
started it, but we do have to
Mhm.
click pause for a moment
Mhm.
while we regroup, get the right people in place. So, of course, you guys teamed up with us at Full Sail Partners to help you throughout that process. Can
Yep.
you tell our listeners what that relationship looked like and how Full Sail did provide assistance in your upgrade process?
Well, you guys did a great job. I'm not sure we could have done it without you. Both from a timing standpoint, you kind of keep us on track with the myriad of things that you have to do. You know, you provided us with a readiness report, which
Mhm.
we weren't ready. So there were some things, a lot of things we had to do behind the scenes that take some time. There are some we had done a lot of customization of vision that we had to sort of do it a little differently because Vantagepoint is a little different. So that took a little while, but you guys sort of helped us through that process, and not only kind of kept us on track with our regularly scheduled meetings, but you were able to provide us with some guidance in our best practices based on your experience doing this with, I'm assuming, lots and lots of other firms. And
Yeah.
everybody's different, but you guys have seen so many folks go through this, having that insight on, well, what if you tried this, or what if you did it this way, or we've seen this, we've seen other companies do it like this. Would that be of value to you as well? So that, I think, helped it go a lot smoother. And of course, you know, having access to someone you can ask questions to was really helpful as well.
Awesome. That was a great project. The feeling is mutual. You guys were wonderful to work with, of course, throughout that process as well. And for Full Sail Partners, that's one area where we're helping firms, and it's many are focused right now on that upgrade process. And the process is just as much change management as it is the software upgrade. So that's very important for firms to keep in mind. Jennifer mentioned the Vantagepoint Readiness Report. It's going to go look for all the little crumbs of data that are in your vision environment that need attention before it does move over to Vantagepoint. It's not a migration. There's no mapping of data, but there are cleanup efforts involved on the vision side that in vision you were able you learned how to ignore it and it became a habit.
Mm-hmm. Well, and
Vantagepoint.
WK Dickson's almost, we're 95 years old. We don't have 95 years worth of data in Vantagepoint, but we've got quite a lot of it. So yeah, there's a little cleanup to do.
There was a cleanup and we kept rerunning that readiness report. So you could, I remember it being so satisfying when we would run a new one and you see how much shorter the list is. That was a good day. That was a very good day.
It's like pulling weeds. It's so cathartic. It's like, oh, look how clean that is.
You're right. So it's definitely that opportunity, pop the hood, rethink processes, not for today, not for tomorrow, but for now and into the future. So that was something we were able to do as well. Of course, you guys, Deltek users for many years now. So when you think back to, that's the way we always did it in Vision, right? So compared to Vision, what would you say were some of the benefits your team was able to take advantage of once you went to Vantagepoint? What were some of the highlights and pros that people commented on?
Well, you know, I commented earlier about how old I am, and one of the things about being old is I have actually been involved in the legacy system division. I think they called it RFP Gentrack, and shout out to anybody who remembers what the heck that is. But in kind of going through all that and being so familiar with, and I was the database administrator in my previous firm, I'm intimately familiar with all the fields and the codes and the back end and this, you know, and you forget how newbies coming on board, or even just your technical staff, they don't know what all that is. And Vantagepoint is so much more user friendly when it comes to trying to find data, trying to look at data, trying to slice and dice data. It's just so much more user friendly than Vision was. And that's what you ultimately want. You want people to kind of get in the system, because data is power. People think, oh, marketing is all about pretty pictures, but data is a key part of marketing. And being able to, I was on a call yesterday where we were talking with some of our CPSMs about workload management, and part of being able to even just explain to your principals, we may need more staff, or we may need more staff here, is being able to show them the proof, the data, and that's coming out of your database. And Vantagepoint makes that a lot easier to find.
Take that whole little quote piece you just did and turn that into some marketing material. Data is power. And so that part, like key takeaway, I think that is extremely important for firms to recognize. The other thing you said was people have to get in the system. Okay. So I mentioned we've taken many firms from Vision to Vantagepoint. We have many success stories, and we have some lessons learned, and we've seen some clients do some things along the way that are aha moments, right? So kind of opportunities for improvement. Okay. And really a lot of it boils down to some really core pieces that a firm and its core team members need to have in place. And that's commitment to the effort, the capacity to take it on, and even the support from top leadership. It is a huge endeavor. It starts with the readiness report. Then you get your preview environment. And that's where we talked about best practices, reworked processes to where they would work for WK Dickson, configured everything in your preview database, smoothed things out. And then you had to get your people in there testing their everyday exercises that they have to do. So of course, people don't love change, but they really don't like surprises, right? So getting them in there, start building the muscle memory, finding any data gaps you have. I think you guys stumbled upon some data gaps, and it was like, okay, well, we're not going to pull this field in a report if it doesn't exist in the system. So really going through that. How would you say the core team, so each firm usually going through the upgrade process has a core upgrade team that meets regularly. How did that team get energized and really ready to adopt and get super pumped about it to spread out to the rest of the firm?
Well, you know, it's funny. You're right. You definitely need a core team. You need and it's very specific to your individual company. I've seen companies sort of try to involve too many people and it sort of collapses under its own weight. And then I've seen people try to do it with like a one-man shop, and that's very, very difficult to do. Plus, you're not always getting sort of buy-in from the little nuggets of people groups that you need sometimes buy-in from. But you know, you've got to sort of meet people where they're at. So WK Dickson did a sort of variety of we did lunch and learns. We did, especially right as we adopted it, we did lunch and learns. We did some, we've got a monthly newsletter that we do. So we did prep stuff where, you know, it's coming, you know, and tried to get people excited about it. I know in a past life when we migrated to Vision, we did posters. We'd sent actual posters to all the offices at like 2 months in advance. The very first one was super, super blurry. And every week we sent a new poster and it got a little less blurry. And we did like a contest where people could, you know, we would say, well, what do you think it is? And every week, you know, people would post it on the refrigerator or near the coffee machine or whatever. And we sort of made a game out of it. And people were like, oh, it's a such and such. Oh, it's a such and such. And so it was really funny to get people kind of like, oh, Vision is coming. And the poster was an actual owl, at Vision. So ha ha ha, that's what you do when you get marketing folks involved. We got to make it fun for people, but you got to just do different things you got to know your organization, you got to know your people, and you got to recognize that your people are busy too. So anything you can do to make it easy for them is definitely the way to go.
I love those ideas. Um,
And
I'm
lunch
probably not
food
so
is never bad either.
food's never bad.
Food
You're
is never
totally right.
bad.
People will congregate when food is involved.
Yes.
The core upgrade team at WK Dickson, what roles did you have a part of it? Do you recall?
Our core team was our IT manager, myself, and the director of marketing, and our accounting manager. And that was pretty much our core team. That was, but we, that was the core team that met with Full Sail on a regular basis. And then we would sort of disperse and go back to our own little group and sort of query them. Well, what do you think about this? How do we need to tweak this? Or what do we want to do here? So we weren't having all those people at the meeting with you guys. It was more, consolidated by the time we got to you. But yeah, we would go back with our tentacles and kind of research our org to see what we wanted to do with some of those issues.
That's a good way to phrase it. Yeah. That was a great core team where multiple groups were represented and all had a voice, which is very important. So Jennifer gave some creative ideas. Well, the whole process is happening. You have to market it to your firm.
Mm-hmm.
It's new. It's a change. We don't like surprises. Let people know that it's coming. So I do love that some marketing teams are getting pretty creative in how they're engaging their users and setting themselves up for success as they introduce and roll things out to the firm, educating them on what's to come. I know the last firm I was at, we did a scavenger hunt, which forced people to get into the database, go find particular data points and submit them for like a chance to win gift cards or something. And there were luncheons in there as well. So, but the blurry poster, I like that one.
But the proof is really in the pudding, especially for your leadership. So when you can provide them with data fairly quickly, maybe it's your hit rate based on what your go no go ranking was. It's just little stuff like that you can provide proof at their fingertips. That's one of the great things with Vantagepoint is it's got the dashboards that you can customize for groups of people.
Right. So of course, throughout all of that, you guys also had OpenAsset,
Mm-hmm.
which I know is what a lot of people on this call are ready to hear about. Tell us, did you integrate your OpenAsset with Vision and then move it to Vantagepoint? Did you start fresh in Vantagepoint? Can you just kind of give us big picture what your relationship with both platforms were and if they talk to each other?
Well, like I said, we've had Vision for quite a while. We actually adopted OpenAsset. I call that our COVID project. We didn't time it this way on purpose. It just kind of happened this way because COVID kind of surprised all of us. But we actually brought COVID on board. OpenAsset on board. Yeah, we brought OpenAsset on board when COVID hit. So it was kind of a good at-home project to kind of get that up and running. Because things actually kind of from a marketing standpoint, that quieted down just a little bit at the beginning. So it ended up timing out perfect. And then, of course, that was what, 2020? And then we upgraded to Vantagepoint last November. So we already had OpenAsset in place when we went to Vantagepoint.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jennifer. CJ, I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic on to you to take the conversation further into the integration between Vantagepoint and OpenAsset.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you, Amanda. That was really, really cool. I also a bunch of things that jumped out to me. I love, Jennifer, your data is power. It's a key part of marketing. It's not just the images. It's been interesting even in the year and a half that I've been here, more and more conversations that I'm having with clients are around like the data in OpenAsset and not just like the images. Of course, images are still a core part, but it's kind of bringing the two together that really helps to enable marketers and other folks to really share the firm story and strengthen their brand and win more business. So I'm excited to dive in more with you on that. So I thought it would be helpful for those folks on the call that may not be familiar with the OpenAsset and Deltek integration. I'm going to give a really quick kind of overview of how that works, just to sort of provide context then with the discussion that Jennifer and I will be having in terms of how it works for Jennifer and her firm and kind of the day-to-day workflows and the benefits. So we'll start there. Um, so the OpenAsset Deltek integration essentially involves a connection between the two where data is able to be pushed from Deltek into OpenAsset. So for instance, with WK Dickson, they actually have both project and employee data pulling from their Deltek system and then automatically updating in OpenAsset on a regular basis. So among other things, that means that Deltek is kind of their source of truth. So they worry about making sure that the information is updated in Deltek. They don't have to mess with updating that in OpenAsset. Like you said, Jennifer, everyone's busy. Data is powerful. If we're able to take two places that you have to update information and consolidate that into one, that's a big win for a lot of people in terms of both time savings and ensuring that the data is accurate and up to date. So what WK Dickson is able to then do is leverage that data in their open asset system as well as their images to be able to not just access and find that information in the system, but actually start to create within open asset. So they're able to do things that we'll hit on, like create project cut sheets and generate resumes. Again, the beauty of which is that they know that the information is up to date because it's pulled in from Deltek. So if there's changes or updates to descriptions or maybe employee certifications or jobs that they've worked on, those kinds of things, that's all updated and they can be sure that those documents are always up to date with that information. So we'll get into more of that and kind of what that looks like, but just wanted to sort of tee that up to kind of provide a quick overview of that. So Jennifer, maybe having said all that, can you share how you and your team, I know it's mostly your marketing team and the marketing coordinators, use open asset kind of on a day-to-day or a week-to-week basis, maybe considering that every day can look a little bit different when you're in the role of a marketer.
Well, those of us who do marketing know that every day is very different. And I mean, to me, one of the game changers with OpenAsset is the drag and drop capability. So you can drag and drop it into InDesign. You can drag and drop it into Word. You can drag and drop it into PowerPoint. You can basically just drag and drop it into a myriad of things. And to me, that's a huge game changer. Whether you're needing it for graphics or, I use Canva or the website or whatever, but then being able to use the templates to create cut sheets or resumes on the fly, that's really the icing on the cake. So not only do you have the pictures that you can easily search because you've integrated that data with Vantagepoint and you can query that in OpenAsset, but then you can very, very quickly take that information and literally within a click of a few buttons, create what you're seeing here, which is your project cut sheet. And, we worked with OpenAsset to create what we consider to be the most likely cut sheet we would use. And this just happens to be a project cut sheet. We kept it fairly simple because we decided that, that would most best suit our needs. But then if you go to the resume one on the next page, we dove a little deeper into that one because it's easier to take that stuff out as you're sort of going through proposals and such than it is to sort of populate it. But I mean, this literally is, you can do a batch, you can do one at a time. It's really just super easy. It's a game changer.
That's awesome. Thank you for that background. I really like what you said about to the templates, how we do have a lot of other clients that we speak with and I speak with that maybe use these templates, the project sheet one that you gave the example of, just quickly going back. Um, I think you mentioned something along the lines of having it be what you're going to use most of the time. And I know that there's sometimes maybe some slight changes or modifications. What we like to share with a lot of our clients is, hey, sometimes maybe these very well will get you 100% of the way, and the templates are boom, good to go as is, and then you package it off and send it off to whoever. But sometimes it can kind of get you, it's meant to get you 80% of the way there, 90% of the way there, and you've got some slight changes. You mentioned on the resume, if you want to take some things out that aren't relevant to the bid at hand, that's fine, but you've got this starting point and you're not kind of starting from scratch.
Yeah, and you'll notice there's no logo, there's no header, there's no footer on this stuff. And basically we made that decision upstream because most of the time we're dragging this into something more comprehensive, which already has the footer and the logo and all that stuff in it. So we kind of kept it, we wanted it as quick and easy as possible.
Right. Totally. Quick and easy,
Quick and easy.
I think is just a general theme and something that's always top of mind for me is how can we make this quick and easy for our clients? You mentioned it earlier. The AEC marketer is so busy, has so many things going on. They've got deadlines looming. So the more that we're able to make things quick and easy and make make their lives better from that perspective, the better. And that always is an exciting thing to see. So it's been really cool to see your firm experience some of those benefits. So maybe on that note, Jennifer, can you know got an understanding kind of the integration and what data is being pulled in and how you can launch documents. Can you share some of the benefits that your firm has experienced with the OpenAsset Deltek integration?
I'm sorry, rephrase it. I'm sorry.
Oh, no
Rephrase that one more
worries.
time.
Yeah, if you can just
Having a
share
senior
some
moment.
of hey, no worries. Some of the benefits. So I know that we chatted about um, some things with onboarding and providing your team with some time to kind of stop doing the low value tasks and start focusing on the high value. A couple of those were a couple of things that we mentioned.
Well, anytime you can do simple task and make it sort of a push of a button, a boilerplate stuff, that leaves you more time to do the customization to what the client wants to see. So like for the introduction summary, a lot of times we have staff that has multiple introduction summaries, and we've got it so that when it merges out all of those, and then you can easily sort of take out the ones you don't want so you can customize it for that specific proposal or whatever package you're working on. It just makes it really easy. I am seeing
Amazing.
some questions, not to derail, but I am seeing some questions about, can't you do this in Vantagepoint? And you can do some of this in Vantagepoint. A lot of times sometimes I'll build the project experience in Vantagepoint because we don't have all our projects in OpenAsset. We've talked about it, but we made the strategic decision only to put uh, our marquee projects with really good photos in OpenAsset. So a lot of times I'll just export the exterior stuff, and then I'll just quickly build the project experience portion of Vantagepoint. And I could be, Amanda, correct me if I'm wrong, but you can't export to InDesign in Vantagepoint.
Correct. And I see those chat questions coming in too. So I'm glad you pointed that out, Jennifer. Vantagepoint does have the ability to create custom proposals like Jennifer was describing. When you export it, your options are Word or PDF. For firms that are heavy InDesign users or need different template structures and things like that, OpenAsset, if you're already using it, right? If you integrate it, you can get your data from Vantagepoint through OpenAsset into InDesign much more efficiently.
Thanks for jumping in and answering that question live. That's always helpful to provide that context. I do love the point that you made about and that was something we hit on a couple of times over just the course of the last few weeks as we've been chatting, Jennifer. But the increasing the time spent, and I think this starts to get to the point of how it's helped give you back time in your day to um, focus on those high value strategic tasks. And those are often things that at the end of the day are going to actually move the needle for the business. They're also probably those things that are more challenging, rewarding, dare I say fun sometimes,
Mhm.
those things that really kind of let you use the skills that you have as a marketer, to showcase your firm and your work and your expertise and why you are uh, well equipped for the bid at hand versus just kind of oh, I'm spending all this time trying to find this information or doing kind of the admin work. While sometimes it's nice to just kind of turn the brain off and do those things. Those things really kind of make the impact. It sounds like it helps open up and give you more of that time to do those sorts of things. So yeah, thanks for walking through that. Actually, that would be a good segue as we're chatting kind of about the templates. And Amanda, you shared a little bit to fill in some of that added context. We have Jennifer's template tricks that I know, Jennifer, we've sort of discussed and hit on these a little bit over the past few minutes, but would you mind just running through each of these for those folks on the call to provide a little more information there?
Well, like I said before, you want to kind of choose more than you think you're going to need. It's easier to delete it after the fact than it is to sort of go back and repopulate it. And anything you can do to not have to cut and paste and cut and paste and cut and paste is a good thing. And like I said, you want to keep it simple. We talked about having full page resumes, half page resumes, quarter page resumes, but really we kind of ultimately decided just keep it simple. You can do with a lot. You can do a lot with a full page resume to chunk it down to a half page resume. And then just make it as easy as possible and ready to go. I mean, this, like I said, it doesn't have any header and footer, but it's easy enough to sort of drop it into a, a, a standard InDesign document with a master page, and you're ready to go, ready to use.
Those are great. Yep, I know it can sometimes be easy and normal to kind of go down that rabbit hole of kind of chasing perfection. And I think that this is good advice to keep it simple, and what's going to have the most impact, understanding that hey, we can always tweak it going forward, but what's going to be the easiest for our team to use. So yeah, those are great. um, just to quickly hit on, as we have mentioned, Jennifer, your firm used OpenAsset. This was your COVID project, and initially, when you were getting up and running with OpenAsset, you linked it up to Vision to sync that data in. Can you share just a little bit about the process of ensuring that OpenAsset stayed connected to your Deltek system when you migrated from Vision to Vantagepoint?
Sure. I think that's actually one of the great things about the OpenAsset Deltek connection is both of them are sort of tried and true products, so that they already sort of talk to each other, that they're both heavily invested in continuing to upgrade both products. I know my OpenAsset rep and I meet every 6 months, and Kyle kind of goes over, here's what's coming up. Here we're working on this AI thing. We're working on a connection with Canva, and you know he's already sort of spooling me up for the things that it's going to do in the future, that I'm super excited about. But when we did our upgrade, we basically, it was me and the IT director got on the call with the support person at OpenAsset, and she sprinkled her fairy dust over like a 20-minute time frame and did some magic IT stuff, and boom, we were up and running. I was impressed. I'll be honest with you. I was watching her go. I was like, wow, that's amazing. So yeah, it was seamless.
Great. Sprinkle the fairy dust. I love
Fairy
that.
dust for
Yeah.
sure.
I know it is just such a massive project, Amanda, as you called out in the beginning when you're doing something like upgrading from Vision to Vantagepoint, and we've learned some really great tips for how to effectively do that. But we're glad to help ensure that the integration stays intact with the OpenAsset system in your Deltek system. And fortunately, yeah, we've got the technology piece as well as the Rockstar support team to make sure that that's something that shouldn't add extra stress to that project. So wonderful. Well, we are doing a quick time check. We're just wrapping up. We've got about 15 minutes left. So before hopping in, if you all have any questions, I know that some have come in over the course of our discussion. If there's any top of mind for you, feel free to drop those in. And while you're dropping those in, Jennifer, maybe we can kind of start to bring it all together, the conversation that we've had, and walk through part two of Jennifer's tips and kind of walk through, your best practices and what you would recommend, folks keep in mind as far as things like setting up and maintaining an integration in the open asset system. I think that this kind of covers a lot of areas, but if you could run through these, that would be wonderful.
Sure. So the first one is you sort of have to have a champion that's sort of like the go-to person that can answer questions and is sort of leading the charge. Um, but you also got to remember that you've got to have a team too. Champion can't do it by themselves. They're sort of coordinating the team, but you got to have a team doing it. And WK Dickson is really fortunate that we've got sort of a great team of folks that are sort of helping to populate both Vantagepoint and OpenAsset. That being said, you have to have a process too. So whether it's you update this when people have their anniversary date, or you have a closeout procedure or whatever, you've got to make sure you've got a written process and that you're communicating out so everybody kind of knows what their role is and what the expectations are. And then don't forget to use your resources. Like I said, my open asset rep, I love him. He's awesome. He is one of my resources. Full Sail is one of my resources. So don't forget, and even the online support. I know open asset has great online support. That's always a great resource for finding out. I love it when I love OpenAsset because like when you log in, a lot of times they'll be like, ooh, here's a new thing that this does. Read about it here. And I'm like, ooh, gotta know what that is. Gotta read about it here. So make sure you're using resources. And as we talked about earlier, sometimes you just have to embrace the imperfection and realize that it's a journey, not a destination, and that's true with both OpenAsset and Vantagepoint. And you got to work your process, you got to connect with your team, but you got to accept that it's always going to be a work in process, and that's okay. It's okay.
I love those. That last one even hit home on a personal level too. I think maybe there's some personal some takeaways that we can all or some of us can embrace. I also liked your identify a process and have that in place and specifically write it down. That's something that can be like, oh yeah, duh, but it's far from it. I think that's even something that uh, in today's day and age where just data is becoming more and more important, not only talking about it in a meeting, but then saying, okay, let's write it down. Let's make sure that everyone is on the same page with it. Who is responsible? When does this happen? That found talking with clients and even internally with team members that I work with and across different departments really, really helps to get that on paper, tweak it as needed, get everyone's buy-in and feedback to really make sure that things stay up to date and happen when they need to versus just kind of chatting about it and all nodding your heads on a meeting. So I really like that one. All right. Well, we have timed this pretty well. We are at 12:50 Central, so we've got about 10 minutes. Let me just bring this slide up so you can see all of our information there. If you have any questions, beyond this webinar, feel free to drop us an email or connect with us on LinkedIn. And I'm sure that I speak for Jennifer and Amanda when I say we're happy to help there. But also let me bring up the Q&A. see if there are some good ones that we can start to address with our last couple of minutes. All right. And Jennifer and Amanda, feel free to kind of bring that up on your side if there's any that
Jennifer,
jump
I
out to
did
you.
see a couple questions asking if you guys use Deltek Ajira. I don't believe like you were straight Vantagepoint to OpenAsset.
Yes.
Vantagepoint's your total ERP, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Jennifer, there was one question that asks, how do you, Jennifer, set up how to not have certain projects integrate into OpenAsset from Deltek? Is that one that you would be able to take?
Yeah, it's what we put in OpenAsset's a manual upload. So like I said, we don't push. You can, but we don't push everything to OpenAsset. We kind of start with the photo, like, ooh, we got a good photo. It's going into OpenAsset. If it's anything that's used in a proposal or anything marketing related, it goes into OpenAsset. That being said, our $500 doghouse doesn't go in OpenAsset. So I'm not that WK Dickson does doghouses, just saying. But if we did, it would not go in OpenAsset.
Yeah, that's a great point, and we work with clients kind of on both sides. You mentioned that you can, so we do work with some clients that, for instance, automatically sync a project from Deltek to OpenAsset. Some of our clients use like a field that says sync to OpenAsset, like on the project level, where they can kind of pick and choose. But yeah, some of our clients have all of all or most of their projects in their open asset system. Some are really just more along the lines of, Jennifer, what your firm has approached with, hey, we're going to keep kind of the projects that we're most frequently referencing and using in bids and other sorts of marketing and business development efforts. So a couple of different options there depending on how you're looking to use the system, but there are options.
Yeah, but once you get that project number in there, it's just a button to hit link to Vantagepoint, and it just automatically syncs up. It's
Awesome.
as easy as that.
Yeah, that was a great question. Uh, Another one that I know is something that I speak with clients often about, and may benefit from your insight, Jennifer. Kim asked, "What is WK Dickson's process for getting the project data into Vantagepoint and therefore open assets? Is that project manager, principal, or marketing?" A little bit kind of on hitting on, we talked about having a process. Can you shed a little bit of light on what that looks like for your firm?
Well, everything sort of starts with the pursuit. So all the pursuits go in. We charge time to individual pursuits. So it sort of starts with the pursuit, and then once it gets tagged to one, we get signed contract gets one, then it becomes marketing's responsibility to make sure that it's fully populated with descriptions and costs and dates, and etc.
Is that
Awesome.
part of your overall project closeout process to make sure you have particular elements for maybe your marquee projects?
I would put that on my wish list. Yeah, we're working on the closeout procedure. It's a wish list item.
Like you said, it's fluid, but
It's
yeah,
fluid.
project
Life's not
closeout is a
perfect. Life's not
it's not.
perfect. It's all
It's
good.
not.
Accept the imperfection. Well, Jennifer, it's something that a lot of clients, and I'm sure a lot of
Mm-hmm.
folks can relate to. It's something that, yeah, I think a lot of us know it's important, but just yeah, having it on the wish list and working towards kind of having a set process in place is something that we talk with clients about all the time. So you're certainly not alone there, and it's baby steps, I think, is a good way to proceed there. Um, Wonderful. Mindy asks, assuming the Vantage Point connection is one way, or can you update Vantage Point fields in open assets? Mindy, you are correct. The field, it is one way. So you would update the fields in Vantage Point, which would then push to open asset. You actually, the fields, like if you hopped into your open asset system, the field would be locked. You wouldn't be able to change it in there, just to ensure that that the integration kind of works as intended. So that's a good question.
But if you see something in OpenAsset that's wrong, you just got to go to Vantagepoint,
Mhm.
change it real quick, and then you can manually kind of refresh it in OpenAsset and then do what you need to do do it.
Let's see. Just looking here. And just on that note, I do want to mention, just for clarity, that some of our clients do have certain fields that just live in OpenAsset and aren't synced up with Deltek. So just know that that is an option. There's obviously some of the benefits that we've talked about having Deltek be that single source of truth to then push data over into OpenAsset, but it is an option if you'd like to have just a field in your open asset system that's not synced up. We do have some clients that kind of have a mix there, maybe even like one or two kind of open asset only fields.
We have stock photos and things like that in
Mhm.
OpenAsset that aren't in Vantagepoint. And then of course we have all our staff headshots in OpenAsset. Same thing, drag and drop.
Yep, exactly. Um,
I
cool.
thought a
Well,
good
I
one
know.
was, were there
Yeah,
any
go ahead.
and this would be for Jennifer. Were there any unforeseen challenges in regard to OpenAsset when switching from Vision to Vantagepoint? And all I can picture is the fairy dust.
No, magic wand. It was seamless. I mean, life should be that easy, really.
Awesome. Well, we're just about at the end of our time. I know that there were some others that we did not get to. What we will do is Jennifer, myself, Amanda, and then the others will kind of sync up after this, and we will follow up with you via email just to make sure that you get the answers to your questions. Again, don't hesitate to connect with us on LinkedIn here, and drop us a message. I hope that this session was helpful. I really enjoyed it. Jennifer and Amanda, I think that it was an awesome conversation. Thank you both so much for your time, and thank you everyone that joined here for your time as well. I know taking some time out of a busy week is always something that can be a little difficult. So really, really appreciate it. And lastly, we will be sending out a recording of this session to all of you, so you'll be able to have that if you want to refer back to it. But yeah, with that, we can go ahead and wrap up, and hope everyone has a wonderful rest of the day and rest of the week.
Thank you, CJ.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.